Ho ho ho! I mean, hey guys. Sorry about that, I couldn't help myself. But anyway, I'm Jam from Jam's Mini Mods, and in today's video, I'm going to be doing a bit of a festive kitbash. And stay tuned to the end of the video because I'm going to be telling you how you can actually win this dude. I'm going to be running a little bit of a Christmassy competition. But anyway, let's jump straight into this. So as you can see on the screen, I got myself an Assault Intercessor. He's one of the easy build ones. I think came with like a Getting Started magazine or something like that if I remember correctly. But any sort of model will do really. So my obvious first step is I'm going to be cleaning this model up, getting all the mold lines gone, any pegs and little nubbins that I don't need, I want to cut them off with my hobby knife and clippers. And with this arm holding the severed heads, that's from the White Scars upgrade sprue. Now the severed heads and the chainsaw and everything is going to kind of lead into my theme for this dude. Well, one is, kind of a Space Wolf Santa, and secondly, Santa's all about the naughty and nice, and he's on the hunt for the naughty kids. And by kids I probably mean like, chaos tainted space marines and mutated smelly Nurgle dudes. And something a little extra I wanted to try on this model, as you can see on the screen now, is I actually 3D printed this kind of ice base topper. I thought this would be a really nice touch for this, and later I'll be adding some resins and stuff like that to make it really interesting. Obviously this is not essential if you want to do something similar, but I just thought it was a cool little touch. Now one of the first things I personally had to do is this thing comes with a Ultramarines logo kind of stuck on his shoulder pad. There's nothing I can really do about that apart from slice it off. So I'm just going to use my hobby knife here just to slowly whittle my way down, just cut a little bit, check it out, and do a little bit of scraping motions and stuff to like kind of smooth it out. But just take your time with this kind of stuff generally, and it can come out pretty easily. But now that I've got the model cleaned up, I've got the Ultramarine symbol shaved off and all that stuff, now it's time to kind of figure out where I want to put this dude on the base, because I'm not just going to super glue him on, I'm actually going to pin this dude, because one, obviously I want a secure fitting because he's only got 1 foot on the ground, and 2, this is going to be a giveaway for one of you guys if you take part in the competition, so it's going to be posted somewhere in the world and I don't want him to snap off too easily. So yeah, just drilling a hole right through this base, and then obviously I have to drill a hole into his foot as well. You want to make sure you don't go through the top of the foot. Obviously you don't want to hold through there, that would just look a little bit silly, so just be careful when doing that. Now to actually pin the model, I'm going to use a paper clip. Now I actually bought quite a lot of these because they're super handy for modeling and doing stuff like this. So I'm going to glue the paper clip into his foot, get a clippers or something like that, snip it off to the length that I want. Then I'm actually going to super glue the guy's foot to the base, and once that initial connection is dry, the remaining kind of like peg at the bottom of the base, I'm going to fold that over with my clippers. I just use it to kind of like push it down, so that that will give a nice hook onto that base there. It's not going to be coming off anytime soon. And then what I do, just for an extra bit of safety, I dab some super glue onto that as well, so it will soak into the hole that we drilled. It'll also fasten that hook down into the base as well, just that extra bit of security there. And as you can see, it's looking fun already. I really enjoy 3D printing bases. I mean, don't get me wrong, I actually really enjoy building bases. Similar to models, I just love building stuff. But since having a 3D printer, I think it might be my favorite thing to do now. Now the next step is to glue on that arm, holding the severed heads of people from the naughty list. So yeah, just slap that bad boy on there, nothing special. Now when it comes to the head that we want for this, I've just chosen a kind of angry face from the Primaris kit. The face doesn't really matter too much, I just wanted something kind of yelling or whatever, because we're going to be doing a green stuff beard and a whole lot of extra fancy stuff on top of this guy later. So far nothing in this model has really been too technical or interesting, so it's just gluing stuff on. But as for the backpack, I got this one from the easy to build Blade Guard Veterans, because it's got that kind of like star halo thing, and I thought it was kind of fitting, the whole star on the top of a Christmas tree thing. So I thought that would be perfect for this Christmas dude. And then as you can see here, this guy's coming together, but he's not very Christmassy yet. The green stuff and the paint job are really going to bring this guy out, so you just have to wait and see for that in a minute. But one thing I thought would actually be really fun on this model was I chose this shoulder pad from the Intercessor kit with the little like reinforcement like bolts or whatever you would want to call them. But I thought to myself, you know what, this would actually look really good when it's painted as like Christmas baubles. So I thought that was quite a fun little bit there, so that's the reason why I chose this particular shoulder pad. Now that the base of the model's built up, it's green stuff time. Now generally we're not going to do anything too fancy, so we're just going to go 50-50 between yellow and blue on this one. I made a little bit here, but then later on I made it a little bit more because, you know, the hat and stuff I wanted to do onto this guy needed a bit more green stuff than I thought. But to be honest, I always make too much anyway. I've always got loads of green stuff spare. But like I said, went 50-50 with this. Now this particular part, like I said before, is going to be his big old Christmas Santa hat. So now that you've got your green stuff mixed together, you want to start rolling it out almost into like a sausage shape, but what you want to do is get a bit more teardrop shaped, a bit more triangular, I guess. So just imagine the one part's going to be the part that goes over the head, another part's going to kind of like funnel into the end of the hat. If that makes any sense at all, you'll see that in a second. And what I also do is to get that kind of hat section to fit around the head, is I get the back end of my paintbrush and I just press it in there so it makes a kind of rounded indent in there so it fits nicely over the head. And I should probably start writing scripts or something because I'm not very good at describing stuff. But yeah, I put the green stuff on top of his head. I kind of gauged it to see, okay, is it big enough and stuff like that. So I took it off again. I rolled the back end a little bit longer, a little bit thinner, because it just seemed a bit like too fat and it was just standing up a little bit too much. So I just kind of went back and forth with that a little bit till I got the right length that I wanted. Then either using a damp toothpick or a silicone shaper kind of thing, or end of your paintbrush, anything like that. And by the way, always keep your tools and your hands and your surfaces wet when working with green stuff. It makes everything much easier. Probably should have mentioned that before as well. And yeah, I just started moving the hat around. I wanted to kind of like flow and move a little bit around so it's not just one straight kind of line, because that wouldn't really look natural or interesting. So I had a bit of the hat curving onto the backpack. And now that I have it in the space I want and all that, but obviously because I've been touching with my fingerprints and tools and all that kind of stuff, what I always do is I get a damp or just a wet paintbrush in general, something scrappy that you don't really want to use, and I just smooth out the green stuff, try to get rid of all those tool marks. And it can also help you shape the green stuff a little bit more, you know, push it down where you want and wiggle stuff where you want it to go. Now next up, I made some more green stuff. This one's a little bit of a lighter color because I put a bit more yellow in than I did blue. Now this is mainly because I was planning on doing like the beard and everything like that. When you have more yellow in, the green stuff tends to be a lot softer, so you can get a lot more detail in there and stuff. But to be honest, the way I did this beard and stuff, because it's just kind of for fun, I didn't really put all that much detail in anyway. So any mixture will work. So yeah, all I did was I rolled the green stuff out once again into a kind of a sausage thing, because this is going to start forming the kind of fur trim around the hat. So we're going to, like I said, roll it out into like a stringy sausage thing, and then we're going to use our damp toothpick to kind of help out. We're going to push it around the hat. We're just going to push it up in there, you know, make sure we get all the way to the back of the head there. Make sure it's all got a nice contact points. It's not going to fall off or anything like that. But we will be working in more detail into this in a minute. Now a similar kind of thing, I rolled out a little ball of green stuff and I put it on the end of the hat, you know, like little fur bauble things you get on the end of Christmas hats. And I just popped that on the end there. Now going on to the beard quickly, I got another kind of like sausagey shape or whatever. You can maybe make a triangular shape depending on the kind of beard you want. And this, to be honest, like I said, this is not the best way to be doing beards, but I was just kind of messing around with this thing. So to kind of get a base of the beard down, I got the green stuff basically around like the jawline, the chin, stuff like that. Worked it into a very rough shape. So this is just basically going to act as a base for the longer strands of beard hair to connect to and sit on. I do use my hobby knife here to press in some detail into the beard, you know, make it look like I've got some strands going on and stuff like that. But to be honest, a lot of this will be covered up when I start adding in the longer hair as well. And once again, I roll the green stuff out into ropey sausages. I mean, that probably should just become the slogan of my channel at this point. But this time a lot thinner, because this will start being the strands of the beard. Now like I said, I roll it out really thin and I start cutting them up into lots of little small pieces. But like I said before, because we've got that kind of green stuff base around the chin, all these little strands should connect and stick on there really easy now. So we just need to start layering up all these long strands of beard hair now. Just making sure that the beard's flowing in the same direction of the model. Like I said before, this is a really silly, not like amazing kind of like converting video. It's just a bit of fun, but you still want to have that kind of flow of the model and stuff. It's always going to help the model look a lot better. And then for some reason I got kind of distracted by the fur trim on the hat instead, and what I started doing with my hobby knife is starting to pull the green stuff on the edges and, you know, making it look like the fur is kind of spreading out and stuff instead of just like one smooth little bit there. So, you know, roughing the edges up so it looks a little bit more natural. And then to really sell the whole kind of fluffy trim vibe, I get my toothpick, but you could use your hobby knife as well. I just start kind of poking the green stuff, you know, just a little bit of pokes everywhere like that, and just little indents and holes and stuff like that, and just go wild, just go crazy, you know, just once again kind of giving that fluffy vibe. Obviously not going too deep, you know, you want to keep it kind of shallow and stuff like that. And I'm going to do the exact same thing for the bauble on the end as well. And it's the first time I've ever done kind of like fur trim like this, and I feel like the effect actually turned out pretty well. Very, very simple and easy, but I think it worked. Now the next part, for some reason I didn't have any footage of me putting the moustache on, but basically as usual you just roll really thin bits of green stuff. I just stuck it under his nose, you know, just above his top lip there. And I was going to connect a tash into the beard, but then I thought, you know what, I want this guy to have a really fancy kind of like curled up tash kind of thing, you know. He's got a bit of beard wax going on or something, just give him a little bit of extra fanciness. So I just kind of curled the ends of the green stuff upwards, and yeah, that's about it. Like I said, for some reason I didn't have any footage of that. As you can see, I also put in loads of strands for the beard. Now I'm just going to use my hobby knife to kind of maybe cut some pieces of the beard a little bit smaller, you know, press in some detail, like a bit more like hair kind of vibe going on. Move bits of the hair around, all that kind of stuff. Just play around and just get it the way I like it. And while I'm busy working on that beard, fun little fact here actually, this model was made last year. I was actually supposed to release this last year Christmas, but a week before Christmas I ended up getting COVID for the first time, and yeah, that kind of cancelled the entire Christmas for me, so no videos, no Christmas. It was kind of lame. But so yeah, this model is a year old, but at least it's getting out to you guys now. Alright, so another step I really wanted to do with this guy, because, you know, I've mentioned it before, the whole, like, you know, naughty or nice thing that Santa has going on. Clearly he's hunting down the naughty people, so I wanted him to have a naughty/bad list. So again, I rolled out a pretty fat chunk of green stuff, used my paintbrush, remembering to keep everything kind of damp and wet, to roll it out. So I'm going to try and make some sort of parchment here. So I'm going to roll it out, and then I'm going to kind of see on the model how long it is, where do I want to kind of cut it down to size, stuff like that. Also keeping in mind that I want the top of this parchment to be folding over the bottom half, if that makes any sense. You'll see in a minute when I do it. But once I have it into the shape and the size and everything I want, put it back down onto the table, and I use my hobby knife just to kind of nick and cut the green stuff so it kind of looks like the paper's torn up a little bit and stuff like that. And as you can see here, I'm using a mixture of my toothpick and my hobby knife to help me get that fold on the top of the paper. And once I get it onto the actual model and I get into the kind of position I want and everything's kind of stuck down, then I once again use my wet toothpick to just kind of give this paper a little bit of movement. So I'm going to like press it in and fold little sections and stuff like that, so it looks like it's kind of blowing in the wind, you know, going with his run and all that. Now I did add a few touches of super glue to this, because once again, like I've said, this might be going in the post, so I want there to be a little bit of extra strength. I don't want just stuff flapping in the wind. Now the next and final kind of cool detail I wanted to add to this guy was obviously Santa has his big old sack of gifts. So I wanted my own version of this. Once again, he's hunting down the naughty kids, the bad dudes, you know, the Chaos Space Marines, all that kind of jazz. And yeah, so I wanted a Santa bag full of severed heads. But I wasn't quite sure how to go about this because I've never had to make a Santa sack out of green stuff. I mean, why would I? This is kind of an obscure thing to do, really. So, like you see on the screen now, I kind of rolled some green stuff out into a circle, and I tried to maybe like cut the edges so it could fold up, and I was trying all these different kinds of things. But it just wasn't working, and you know what? It was just simpler to chuck a big blob of green stuff in a kind of like a sacky kind of shape, I guess. And I did this on a separate base because I didn't have much space on the model. And once it cured, I was just going to pop it off and glue it onto the base with my model. But, so what I did was, like I said, got that kind of roundish blob of green stuff, used the back end of my paintbrush again to give it an indent. This is where, like, you know, where I'm going to put all the skulls and stuff in later. But obviously right now it doesn't really look like a sack at all. So to give the bag a bit more of like a wrinkled natural effect or something like that, I pushed the edges inwards and stuff like that, and I started adding a bit more like indentations and marks and stuff like that. And once I kind of got that kind of, like I said, wrinkled bag effect at the top, to really define where the rope's gonna go, I used my toothpick to start pressing it in around the areas that I wanted, just get that indentation in there. And I'm sure at this point you're probably sick of me saying green stuff sausages, but I made another one which is going to act as a string, which I placed around the indentation that I pressed in with my toothpick before. So we're just going to get that in there, fitting in real nice, and you can see this bag's really starting to come together. But to get some actual rope texture into this thing, I'm going to use my hobby knife, and I'm just going to put little indentations in at an angle. So I'm just gonna you know, press some like forward slash indentations all across this rope. Now once that was done, I squeezed 2 skulls into the bag. Obviously the green stuff's still quite soft and everything, so I can get them right in there. These are from the Citadel skull kit. Everybody needs one of those if you're a kitbasher or just like building models in general. Yeah, so I squeezed the 2 heads in, I got them where I wanted, and now that that kind of main shape of the bag is there, I've got the skulls in there, I've got the rope on there. Now I can kind of go back and refine it a little bit, you know, get the lip of the bag and all that kind of stuff a bit more defined, get it the way I want it to look. Keep saying the lip of the bag, I guess the opening of the bag would probably be a better way to describe that. But another thing I do is I wanted the top of the bag, like I say the opening, lip or whatever, to kind of curve over and like start, you know, almost facing down to the ground a little bit. So I used my tweezers, really fine pointed ones, and I just kind of grabbed the edges of the lip and just started folding them over just a little bit. And once you've done all that kind of stuff, once again use your wet paintbrush to kind of smooth out any details there as well. Now, like I said before, I will wait for this sack to cure, and then I'll pop it off that base and stick it onto my current one with a bit of super glue. But onto the final green stuff detail, I get out my trusty green stuff world fur texture plate. Now I've said it a million times in all my videos, if you ever want to mass produce fur, you have to have this thing. It's just awesome. I've used this thing in so many of my videos, but if you haven't seen it before, all you got to do is make sure your texture plate's got a bit of water on it so the green stuff can peel out of there easy enough. Now you want to mix your green stuff 50-50 or maybe a little bit more yellow, it's up to you what you want to do there. And once you peel it off the texture plate, you should have some nice fur texture on the other side of the green stuff. Now I'll be chucking this fur onto the shoulder pad that originally had that ultramarine symbol on it. I just felt like it needed a bit more of that kind of warm / space wolf vibe there. So yeah, we get the green stuff fur roughly where we want to get it, and also fold the green stuff over onto the fur a little bit so that it looks like there's leather underneath there and stuff like that. And once that's all pressed into place, we want it in there, it's all nice and set there. Then we can start doing one of my favorite things about roughing up like edges of fur and like green stuffy things like that, is get your tweezers out and just start pulling the edges. So it kind of creates these long strands, you know, roughs up the edges so it doesn't just look all flat and boring. Keeping in mind the kind of flow and direction of the model, of course you want to be pulling these strands into the same direction as everything else is flowing. And yeah, just keep doing that so you don't have this like weird straight edges to your fur. You just want to make it look a little bit rough and just, go at it until you feel happy. I will also use my hobby knife or my tweezers or toothpick or something like that to add a little bit of like scuffs and details to the leathery part. And to be honest, once that's all done, the model's complete. So I'm gonna go and paint this bad boy up, and I'll see you guys on the other end for a showcase. And I'll tell you how to win this Christmassy dude. And there you have him in all his Christmassy glory. But yeah, let's get straight into how you can enter the competition and win this guy, because this video's turned out a little bit longer than I was kind of planning. So basically, all you have to do to enter this competition is you have to send in an entry of a character model, like a HQ, a hero, something like that. But obviously, my channel is all about kitbashing and converting, so preferably a character that's been kitbashed or converted will get extra points, and obviously it needs to be painted. Now the reason why I'm doing it just a HQ model instead of something more fancy is because I feel like everybody likes customizing or has a really good looking character, something anybody can enter into. And I didn't want to just do just subscribe and I'll give you money kind of thing, because that just attracts people that don't really care about the channel and stuff like that. So I want something where you guys will make something new or something you've done before. Just send me the pictures. I've got an email. If you check my details on the channel, I have an email address, or you can join the Discord channel and I'll put a little channel up there where people can enter their pictures. But like I say, if you don't want to join Discord, just email me pictures of the models as well. And then I think towards the end of January, because I'll give you guys a good like month and a half depending on when I release this video, I'm going to put all the pictures up for a public vote. Now if there's a draw, obviously I will do the tiebreaker kind of thing. So just to give this a bit of structure, let's say I want all the pictures in latest the 27th of January. Then hopefully I can get all the voting and stuff done by the end of that month and get this bad boy shipped out to whoever wins. But anyway guys, I will leave like a kind of bullet point thing in the comments below to, so you can keep track of it. I hope you enjoyed the video. It was just a bit of a silly fun. Like I said before, I wanted to do this last year, but COVID and all that kind of nonsense. I hope you liked the model, and I hope you'll take part in the competition. I think it'll be a lot of fun. It's a bit of motivation to maybe get one of your new Christmassy models done in the new year, and you can win something kind of silly in the process, But of course, as always, please like, subscribe, hit the bell, all that kind of good stuff. I will hopefully be getting out more content and videos this year. Last year was a little bit crazy and busy for me in life, but this year hopefully I can kind of get back on it a little bit more. But I won't take up any more of your time. If you're watching this during the festive season, then I hope you've enjoyed your holidays or will enjoy your holidays. If you're watching it later on, I'm just glad you've made it this far along, and see you on the next one, guys. Bye bye.